this is a perfect call with you on the line, Seth. Let's talk to Johnathan in London. Let's see here. Johnathan, you're live with Eric and Seth. What would you like to talk about?
Good evening, Eric. Good evening, Seth.
Good evening.
Yes, I'm an atheist, long time atheist. My wife is a Christian, and she's been going through some rather hard times of late. And one of the things she sometimes says is, "Why am I being punished?" And I don't know how to handle that without undermining her faith. And I'm not trying to do that. But I'm trying to support. So a bit of advice would be useful.
Seth, you got anything?
I can jump in if you want.
Oh, dude, I'm not married. I
All right, so tell me about the temperature of your relationship. Do you have conversations about God belief or the lack of, or have you sort of done an agree to disagree thing or something else? Where you at?
We don't often. It's a sort of agree to disagree. I mean, but candles start burning on particular times in front of icons, etc. And I quite enjoy visiting old churches when we're in her country, and when we do, a bunch of candles will be lit in various places. But it's not something. It's just. Yeah, it's an area of difference between the two of us, and it's not really mattered up until the last few months, when, because of various health and family deaths and things like that.
I got you. So if I'm trying to narrow this down, is it a Bible-based God belief? Is she a Christian? Something else?
Oh, yeah, she's
okay.
Christian, yeah.
So she probably then, if she believes that it's kind of her own fault, holds to this notion of original sin, right? We are all born broken. And so if some calamity happens in her life, it's some kind of moral failing on her part. You think she's drawing that conclusion?
Oh, I think we may have lost him.
Okay, well, I think we can still answer his question, even if you. I hate the idea that I can't finish with him, but if you're still listening, my friend, I think that this is a necessary conversation that doesn't have to challenge her religious belief directly. And I think you use the word "I" when you're speaking, like not your belief is damaging you. Your Bible is telling you that you were born broken and that you don't deserve, because if we look past all the happy, clappy love verses in the Christian Bible, the message really is that we are unworthy. We don't deserve. It's our fault. We live in a fallen world. It's sort of a shame game that comes back on humankind, and it causes us to blame ourselves. It's like when somebody prays for someone else and that prayer does not come to fruition, and we say, well, I just didn't have enough faith, or I need to be a better Christian. It's a blame and shame game, something that religions have done for thousands and thousands of years. I would have the conversation like this. I don't think it's your fault. I don't think this is a fallen world that is full of sin and brokenness, which is the reason that all this is happening. I think that you have value and that, you have love and friendship. I am here for you to help walk with you through these difficult times. I have every confidence that we can do this together. It helps to keep her off the defensive. And it's a reassurance to her that she is not alone, that you are right there as a partner in life with her. That would be the first thing I would try. And okay. It's possible that she will read also between the lines and say, this guy, he's sort of disagreeing with the fundamentals of my faith, but he's not speaking in language that is accusatory, and he's not blaming anybody, and he's not telling me I'm stupid. He's telling me, I love you, and I think you have value, and I got your back, and I'm right here, and let's just do this together. Let's do life together. Let's do these problems together. I think she will receive it in the spirit in which it is intended. Who knows where that conversation will lead? But at the very least, you have lifted her arms up in a very dark time in her life. And you've done so without telling her she is wrong. You're just sort of validating what she has and that she has value. That would be my approach. I don't know, Eric, does that wash at all? I mean, do you have anything better in regard to that?
Well, I think first, before I dive in, you had a lot to say, and we did get Johnathan back.
Oh, good.
And so, Johnathan, were you able to get that? What do you think of that? Does that sound applicable?
That sounds a lot like I've been handling the supportive side of things. I've been trying to do. What I'm not doing is talking about fallen worlds, so much as random bad luck sometimes comes in threes, and just because some things have happened in the last 12 months, the next 5 years, 10 years could be completely different.
Life is, it's kind of random, and sometimes it's very unfair. And, we see bad things happen to wonderful people, and we see horrible people who skate and get away with it. Sometimes things don't make sense. We don't see any sort of reason or method to it, but it's still life, and we have to do it together. It sounds to me like you're one step ahead of us. So my encouragement to you would be just be there for her, love her to death, and try to validate the best parts of her so that she does not blame herself. I think it's all we got.
I think that's beautiful.
One of the callers, I would just point out that November isn't over yet.
This is true. We do have one more day for the one world government to take over and destroy us all. I mean, I feel like it's wait until the very, very end, though. I don't know how we're going to squeeze it all into one day, but we still have what you're right. You're right. One more day. That said, I think the only other thing that I would offer up is that anytime it comes to dealing with grieving, with loss, with growing as a couple, couples therapy and individual therapy is always a wonderful option. Getting professional help, especially if she finds herself in a place where maybe you're too close to it. But really processing grief and loss is a process that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life, because it's something you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. And so it is never a bad option to get professional help. That said,
yeah.
Johnathan, thank you for calling in.
Take care, brother.
But not okay. Thank you very much, both of you. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, I love the British accent so much.
Dude,
I've been watching The Crown. It's on Netflix, and it's an hour at a clip of people speaking in these lovely, everything is a production, Ma'am, I'm sorry to disturb, but there's a gentleman in the hallway who seeks an audience with your majesty, but it's so amazingly musical.
Oh, that's too funny.
I just find myself just sort of drifting off into this happy la la land, So anyway.
I've got to check it out. I just finished. I've been catching up on a lifetime of Star Trek that I've never watched, and so I just finished Picard and crying my eyes out. So I've got something. I think I could pick up The Crown. That sounds good.
Quite good.
Dude, your lived experience was fantastic for that call. I'm really, really glad that you're here for that.
No, well, I'm not a qualified counselor. I'm just a guy who, just like everybody else who's lived life. I've also had a lot of these conversations. I did a video that you can find on YouTube for people who are unequally yoked. There's often this is someone who they're an atheist and they became an atheist after they got married. So they were both religious, God believers, churchgoers. They get married, and then one goes through the journey like you and I went through and realized that there is no there. What am I going to do? And the religious spouse is looking at him going, whoa, this isn't the person I married. This isn't the deal I made. What do I do? That's a lot of what I do, is address that. And I produced a video directed specifically to those God-believing spouses. And it's called Letter to a Christian Spouse. And you can just type that into a YouTube search engine and it pops right up. So if there's somebody who's living with a God believer and there seems to be a language barrier, maybe even some conflict or stress, people seem to be positively responding to the video Letter to a Christian Spouse on YouTube.
Dude, just using language like that people understand, unequally yoked. I mean, for those lifelong atheists who are listening going, what the hell is
That's scriptural.
yoked?
That's right out of the Holy Bible, ladies and gentlemen. That's out of the word.
So the yoke, let me see if I remember that correctly. The yoke was what you would put between plow animals like oxen that would both share the burden of plowing the field. And so if you were unequally yoked, what you were doing is you were saddling one spouse with more of the work because you're not in it equally together. And so if you're not both the same exact kind of Christian, if you don't get the sign off the church that you're both the right kind of Christian, you may be unequally yoked, and that could lead to bad news. That
was just a play on words. I mean, I wasn't saying that they're unequal.
No.
But the Bible talks about how that the yoke would be heavy and that God comes to lighten that load. I mean, they use the yoke in a lot of different metaphors in the Christian scriptures. So I just thought it was kind of funny to use it.
Well, I think that the thing is, there are a lot of lifelong atheists who watch this who have no idea. So I just kind of want to give them a little bit of purview as to why we're using some of that language, because there's so much of it. There's so freaking much of it. If I were to say, hey, Seth, how's your walk?
How's my walk?
You know what I'm talking about. But that doesn't mean that.
I feel that check in my spirit. We used to say that quite a bit. I was there and I felt this check in my spirit. That means you actually stopped to think about something or had a moment of conscience. But there's a whole, I think there may be some kind of an online database of Christianese, of these little terms that religious people like to use that have caught on.
But it's definitely one that I've found people watching Talk Heathen kind of going back and going, holy crap, I had no idea that there was an entire other language around it. And there so is. Yeah.